Good morning. What is up? What is good, everybody? Keith Jameson, go back here, guy 231. Across the DFS industry, we're back. 6th game, UCL slate on Wednesday. Hope you guys did well yesterday. It was a different one. I really enjoyed early, which unfortunately I don't cover in the video, but I took down the 44, which was a really nice little fun while having my family at the park, which you saw my Twitter. That's the reason why this video is up late. Just absolutely exhausted, taking a 4-year-old and a 4-month-old to a theme park. Hour and a half away, drive, screaming, all that good stuff. It's something. So anyhow, back ready to pound in this slate. So just a quick reminder, like, subscribe, comment. Let's go over it. We got the trusty receipt of the odds. Let's just get into it. Look, this is going to be fairly short. I mean, all these are short, right? But this is a City slate. City's minus 2,000 at home versus Copenhagen. Freaking Holland is Holland. Like, he's just destroyed. So some people are like, Holland is making the Premier League a Farmers League, which is so true. Like, everybody gets all mad about Messi and Neymar and Mbappe in the French league, and there's no competition. And meanwhile, Holland's on pace for like 60-something goals. It's just insane. So you're locking Holland in everywhere. You're locking KDB in everywhere. KDB's underpriced at 8,500. And then I think Mahrez is due a start. Mahrez is horribly underpriced at 6,900. So I think the core kind of already like builds itself. And then, I saw in a prediction that Grealish is 5,500. I think if Grealish starts on the left wing, even though he stinks, like he just lost in City, I really think he might be do a move in the offseason if they can't figure it out. Like, he's the weak link on City at this point. But 5,500 is a minus 2,000 favorite. It's just kind of like, all right, like, take the chance. All you have to do, Jack, is make one pass to Holland. Just pass it to the guy and he'll score. So, I think those will become easy. I think it really well could be Julian Alvarez getting the start at left wing. He's 9,300, which is still too expensive. Like, you can't play Alvarez 9,300 over Mahrez 6,900, except for differential. Or Foden's in. He's up there expensive. I think it just has to be those three. I think it has to be Mahrez, Holland, KDB. Now, obviously, if KDB got a rest, then you could do Gundogan, could take some sets. Mahrez or Foden could take some sets too. Just kind of gets a mess. You really just need to, based on the lineup, maximize the amount of City exposure, because City's going to score 4 to 5 goals here probably. So, yeah, that's the big thing. Now, this, Cancelo, I forced him over the weekend. Cancelo, to me, is always really difficult because he doesn't force crosses in there. He's a little bit more pragmatic with his approach. He kind of does more like low passes into the box. He's still absolutely sensational, but it's not like as sensational for DFS unless he gets one of those decisive actions. Sergio Gomez, on the other hand, can randomly take a corner, likes to cross. He's a little bit cheaper. That actually might be a better way to go if, which I didn't have the salary, but if you even have the salary to pay up at defender. I think we were talking about this in the FSI chat a little bit before the game, before the Bayern slate, and people were asking about Jonathan Klaus, who is a really good wingback for Marseille, and my answer was, it was like, who do you like? Defender slot to me was where I'm just going to punt and pay down. I ended up getting a $2,600 goal, which was the reason I won, but I didn't want to use up one of those mid or forward spots. I wanted those to be Bayern attackers, because Bayern was minus like 2,000 too. So I think it's the same with like City, and now we have Real Madrid is minus 700. I think on this slate, in a lot of ways, you want, and this is in Champions League, a lot of time, group stages, a lot of time where we get these huge favorites. You want those forward and midfield slots when you don't have dominant fullbacks, right? Tasmika's TAA. I'm blanking on those two obviously from yesterday, but when you have dominant fullbacks that can get you 15 to 25 points, that's one thing because they get underpriced. But when you don't have the dominant guys, you have the guys like, okay, they're decent, not crazy about them, but they're decent. Those types, I don't think you spend up on. You don't want to waste, salary and waste like a punting spot on a mid or forward spot that could get you the upside of a goal. So on this slate, I really think those forwards, mid, utility you're using for like a Real Madrid, City piece, or random, If we can get any sort of like set taker that's super cheap, we want to use it for there. And then if we have to punt, then let's punt at defender. That's just kind of my overall thinking. So, all right, that's City. We don't need to go over Copenhagen. Not playing in Copenhagen here. Real Madrid hosting Shakhtar. Real Madrid's minus 600. I think one of the big decisions. Sorry, got the hiccups now. On the slate is, are you playing Toni Kroos? 5,700 is woefully underpriced for a guy that takes a monopoly of Real Madrid set pieces. Now, here's the thing with Toni Kroos, and I've said this for years with Real Madrid, and I've gotten burned for years. Toni Kroos provides a really nice floor. He almost always gets in between that like 7 to 10 DK range. You can dodge 7 to 10 DK. You can make that up in so many different ways. What you start struggling to dodge is if Toni Kroos gets a goal or assist. And now he's at 17 to 20 points, and he's chalk city. So I think in cash, he's a play. In GPP, I would likely fade and just hope that you get the floor game out of him. Benzema, Vinny Jr., Rodrigo, maybe they randomly start Hazard. All those guys are in play, but just understand all those guys are in play, and you sacrifice a city piece for it. I really don't see a way around Haaland, KDB, and if he's starting Mahrez. So if you can fit a Real Madrid piece at that point, that's great. If not, I'm cool with it. City is 3 times the favorite. I'm pro City here versus Real Madrid. Real Madrid becomes a really good differentiator in GPP, knowing how much chalk will be on City. Nobody to talk about in Shakhtar. You just, with these huge dogs on a 6-game slate, just don't even bother, in my opinion. The next biggest favorite is Maccabi going to Juventus. Juventus is expected to get Di Maria back. Di Maria back would actually hurt Kostic. They should split sets at that point. They're both a little bit on the expensive side, where I can't find a way to fit them, right? Can I really spend, I think it's like 8,100 or 8,700 on Kostic, 80, it's like 8,000 or high 7,000s on Kostic. I think Di Maria is 8,700. And you really do that when Kroos is 5,700, when Mars is 6,900. You just can't. Now, I think an interesting way to target Juventus is twofold. One, if Di Maria doesn't start, McKinney has been kind of playing this outside role at 4,100, and it's been very good for them. So that's a decent value. And then we've also seen, oh my gosh, why am I blanking on the Milic? Milic for Juventus has been really good with Vlahovic. They're playing 2 strikers. Those 2 have been really good up top. That could be a way, and try to go nip yourself a goal on the cheaper side and go from there. But that would be those 2. God, I didn't write down the kid's name. There's a left back. He like plays left back. I think he's a forward for Maccabi. I did not look at his price. I'm a terrible content provider. This is why sometimes the car backfires on me. Most of the time it works out, but it somewhat backfires me at times. He's been taking their sets. He's actually shown up a lot. So make sure you just take a look at him. FSI subscribers, I'll have it in the chat. But and I'll try to, when I get home, once I upload this, I'll put this in the notes too. I'll just write like the left back from Maccabi I was thinking about is this guy, he's this price, and just tell you if I think that he's in play. All right, let's go to the next game. Next biggest favorite is Milan going to Chelsea. Chelsea is minus 160. I'm not a big fan of Chelsea, not only because they're the 4th biggest favorite on the slate, but their sets just continue to suck. It's a little bit of James, a little bit of Mount, could be a little bit of Conor Gallagher, a little bit of Ben Chilwell, and none of them are like producing like the great numbers, especially versus Milan. Milan, a very good defensive team. Chelsea on a bit of a struggle, has not just clicked in with Graham Potter, which is fine. Like, there's a lot of changes between Graham Potter and Thomas Tuchel. There's just a lot of changes at Chelsea in general. I just don't see how you go here. You could try to get a goal with like Kai or Abba, Sterling, anything like that. I just don't see any of them in optimal. Reece James would be my favorite, but he's in that like mid 6K. It was kind of what I was talking about. If we, sorry, I got a text and distracted me. If we spend on Reece James, it's going to take away from the upside positions on like the mid and forward, and I just don't think you can do that. So I think it's fine, but you know, I'm not crazy about it. For Milan, Sandro Tonali is really, really cheap. So is Ismail Benacer. The hardest part between those 2 is when they're both in. At this point, I don't know who takes sets. It's sometimes been Tonali, and he takes all of them, and you go, oh my goodness, last game was Benacer. And then the next game, Benacer takes them, and they're both defensive mids, so they don't get like the best open play value. They rely on like fouls drawn, tackles. You know, sometimes Benacer will take the corners, and Tonali will take the dead ball free kicks, and vice versa. But just know they're cheap, So they're viable. Next game, Dortmund versus Sevilla. I really have no interest in this game at all. Sevilla's at home, slight dog, plus 200. They're just not very good. Isco's cheap, though, and taking set pieces. I think that's okay. Not crazy about it. On the Dortmund side, Julian Brandt over almost all dead balls. Every once in a while, you'll see Guerrero as well. But just pricing-wise, they don't really work. Away to Sevilla is in a great spot, despite Sevilla not being that good. It's not like all of a sudden I'm like, oh, man, Dortmund. Just hard for optimal. If you can't tell, City makes it so tough to like anybody else, because you're like, I just got to spend my money on City and maybe on a random Real Madrid piece. Final game, and this is the craziest part. Final game, like burying the lead. PSG going to Benfica. Never seen a slate where I think that Mbappe, Neymar, and Messi could all, in cash, be pretty much non-existent. I think that it's a great lean for GPP. Benfica's been awesome, but this is a different like talent level and world for them with PSG coming there. So I think, you know, if you want to take a stab on like a mini PSG stack, if you could try to fit it, maybe you just do like a naked Haaland. Like, you know, you just play Haaland, you go, I think all the goals are going to come from him, which we've seen that's not the case. He's been getting involved in assists, but let's just say you do that. Maybe you even do Mahrez. And then you try to play Messi or Mbappe or Neymar. I think Mbappe probably is, I guess Neymar based on logs would be the least owned, but that could be a way to take it. But I do think that in cash, it's hard to get to any of them. Those are the only three guys on PSG. From Benfica, PSG's actually been a little bit leaky, so if you wanted to kind of go crazy, maybe like Gonzalo Ramos, David Neres. I don't remember their prices. They didn't make my builds, but I could see them in play. Grimaldo I saw was pretty cheap at like 4,700. He's probably one of my favorite defenders on the slate if I had the salary. I just think that's a really good spot for him. PSG, again, as good as they're not possessionally dominant. So, you know, Benfica will have some chances. I think Odysseus, been getting a lot of goalie questions lately. Probably need to do, probably overdue for my goalie line. So let's just do that and then we'll end. For goalie, okay? One of the best ways, especially in Champions League, where there's going to be a lot of goals, build your lineup with the cheapest goalie in place. So I think in this one, it's going to be whoever is in net for Copenhagen, okay? And maybe you just go, okay, look, I'm a stuck city, I don't want him. So you do this next cheapest goalie. But find the cheapest goalie that you're okay with. Put him in, build your lineup. Now, all of a sudden, if you start finding yourself with extra salary, now you can go up in the goalie tiers. But if you love your lineup and you're just like, man, I'm okay with that goalie, but I'm not thrilled about it, just leave it. Like yesterday in Maine, and I min cashed, so it was fine. But I ended up stacking Liverpool and playing McGregor. And guess what? McGregor's outscored half the goalies on the slate, because even though he allowed 2 goals, he got like 7 or 8 saves. And that can happen. We've even seen in Champions League goalies allowing 5 goals, but getting 10 to 15 saves. And then all of a sudden, they allowed 5 goals, got 10 saves. It's 10 points. And you play Ederson, he gets no point, or he gets no saves. The clean sheet and win, they got the same output for $2,500 cheaper. Or even worse, Ederson gets no saves, concedes 1 goal, you get 3 DK, and you lost because you spent $2,500 more to get 7 less points from a favorite goalie. So that stuff happens. Goalie's a very tilting position. It's very important, but at the same time, it's more important to build your whole lineup and then just kind of allow a little bit of variance to happen at the goalie position, unless you have a strong lean anywhere. Like yesterday, I really thought Onana was good. I thought that Mignolet was really good for the cheap. You know, they both did okay. So, you know, like cheap home goalies is like how I go. So like, that's why I think Odysseus here is going to be fairly popular, at least on like higher stakes cash. Expect him to be a popular choice. All right, that'll do it. So Core, Mahrez, KDB, Haaland. If one of them's not in, another Man City piece for them. So that's how we're gonna roll. All right, thanks for watching. Quick reminder: like, subscribe, comment. Appreciate y'all. I will be back on Thursday night or Friday for EPL this weekend. Good luck today, everybody. See you.